We in the building. We in the building. We in the building, bitch. We in the building. We in the building. We in the building. We in the building, bitch. We in the building.
Finally, R0B and PTA have come back to BGN, which means that finally R0B and PTA have come back to Giants Talk. Now, I'm going to dip into my fan bag this week because let me tell you something. We have those Rudy Poo candy ass cowgirls coming to town to New York City, well, New Jersey, but I'm going to call it New York. And right now, those cowgirls, they're weakened. They can't stop the run. They can't run it themselves. CeeDee Lamb is upset on the sideline. Micah Parsons is running his mouth about CJ Gardner-Johnson on his podcast. They're in shambles. And the Giants are coming off of a beautiful victory in Cleveland. And let me tell you something. There ain't no way. NR0B means no way that the Dallas Cowboys in year 6 of Daniel Jones are going to come to New York and beat the New York Football Giants. Now, I want to talk about this game. We're going to talk about that, but I can't do it alone. I got to bring in the one man that knows his Cowboys more than anybody, more than Skip Bayless. He knows them more than Chris Canty or Marcus Spears. And he knows them more than that cowboy hat wearing Stephen A. Smith, who doesn't hesitate to wait for a cowboy letdown. There's only one person that can help us talk about the Dallas Cowboys versus the New York Football Giants. And I'm about to bring him in. We're going to talk about the game. So get your beer, grab your margarita, grab your dinner, grab some popcorn, because we about to break it and lay it to smack it down on all of the Dallas Cowboy candy asses. If you smell what R0B, PTA, and my man Jay Tuck is cooking.
Man, I don't know what to say about that intro, man. I would say thanks, I guess. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't take much to know about the Cowboys more than Stephen A. And, especially Skip Bayless, who isn't a Cowboys fan anyways, man. But thanks for having me on, man. I'm excited to do this, man. Huge fan of yours and your content. We've been doing this for years. Salute and rest in peace to my dog Pest, man. Pest used to get so excited about this show, man. Cowboys week. And I'm like, bro, I hate to, because Pest was such a great guy, bro. I hate to have to cook him game after game after game, man. So thanks for having me on. And what's up, Giants Nation? Let's get things rocking, man.
Yo, Tuck, appreciate you you coming on. As you said, we've been doing this a few years with my boy PTA, and I'm glad that you were willing to continue the tradition.
Absolutely.
Leading into what it will be the first meeting of the New York Giants versus the Dallas Cowboys. And I don't want to waste any time, man. I want to jump right in because, I'll be honest, like last year, Dallas, finished how they normally always do, but look good, during the season as they always do. And then there's a lot of turmoil going on in the offseason. Is Dak going to get the deal? McCarthy hasn't gotten his deal. CeeDee Lamb is looking, are they going to bring back McCarthy? CeeDee Lamb and his deal. Who's going to get the deal first? Lamb, Parsons, whatever. And now we're coming into this year. Pollard leaves in free agency. Tyron Smith leaves in free agency. Armstrong and a couple of others. and you're kind of revamping the offensive line. And through first week, you guys look fantastic going up against the Browns. I was like, oh boy, here we go, and Dak got the deal. And I was like, man, they're going to be a tough team this year yet again. And then week 2, week 3, and it wasn't like what week 1 was. And so letting up over almost 200 yards to the king himself, on Sunday. So how are you feeling about the Dallas Cowboys thus far going into week 4? And what would you say? Are you nervous about the game? Oh, a little bit more than you've been in years past, and just give me your overall opinion thus far.
Yeah, man. So I say for me, I probably differ from a lot of Cowboys media analysts and also content creators because the Cowboys are right where I expected them to be. I kind of had them at 1-2. Now I did have them originally losing to the Browns and then winning versus the Saints, but reverse tomato, right? But I was one saying, bro, there's no chance that we're going to beat the Ravens. Like, we know what Lamar's record is versus the NFC. Everything that they do well, we struggle against historically. It was just a bad matchup. But I just want to see, did the Cowboys have some cojones to go out there and fight? Which, they kind of did at the end, right? So they bounced back in the fourth quarter, but for the most part, it was just a full-on onslaught. So, as far as confidence or my concern, I will say, yes, I am concerned. I'm more concerned going into the Giants week than originally intended. Normally, this is kind of a bye week for me. I kind of get some rest, relax, get some R&R. But what is happening right now with the Cowboys is it's blood in the water, right? It's blood in the water, and everyone sees it. And right now, the Cowboys have shown nothing to stop the bleeding. Now, typically what could happen, right? You can scheme to stop the bleeding. You can kind of come around with a new scheme or, put more people in the box to help with the run defense. But for the most part is we don't have the personnel. And I think that's the huge key that a lot of people are missing out on. I know that we have Coach Zimmer as a new defensive coordinator, but we don't have no defensive tackles, bro. Like, we just don't have any. Mozzie Smith was coming off, a shoulder surgery, so he was out majority of the offseason in camp. He was trying to put back on weight. Last week, he's coming off a back injury. Then you have Jordan Phillips, who you guys hoodwinked us for and traded to us, and he's on the inactive with the mysterious wrist injury all of a sudden, but I think it's because he was getting pushed around versus New Orleans. Then you have Linval Joseph, and then it just gets, there's nothing there. There's nothing there that teams will sit back and say, oh, we can't run on those guys. Like that scares us. So that's my hugest concern. So I feel like what's going to happen is you guys are going to come out there, you're going to go in these heavy personnels, even though that's really not who you guys are from a foundational standpoint. You might as well try it because everyone's beating the Cowboys with it. Try to slow down this game, muddy up this game, make it a time of possession game back and forth, and hopefully creep out there with the victory. So I'm saying I'm a little bit more concerned due to the personnel and also the mindset for our Cowboys this year versus years in the past.
So, and all good points, and appreciate that insight. And so I want to talk about the defense, right? And us Giants fans, we do these Twitter spaces all the time. And, me and some others, I thought that this defense was going to take a big step back. And I say, because Dan Quinn did such an amazing job the last few years that he was there. And that always seemed to be the Cowboys' kind of Achilles heel. The offense was always great with the Romos and with Dak, like always was able to score and put up points, but the defense was always the letdown. It was always the defense that couldn't close games out or gave up big leads or gave up the games. And then Dan Quinn comes to town and it's like, wow, you're mashing a great offense with a stout defense, and you get Micah Parsons, and Micah Parsons is, we all know what he's done the last, couple of years. And he's been a little bit of a ghost this year. The pass rush necessarily doesn't seem like it's the same. A lot of those interceptions from last year, I know Bland is out, and Diggs is probably trying to get back in his groove from being out with injury all of last year. They don't seem like they're playing with that same type of intensity. Yeah. And Mike Zimmer is not a bad defensive coordinator, but way different style, I think, than Dan Quinn. So what are you seeing from the defense side of things, and how are you feeling overall? Is Is it salvageable, or do you feel like you've got the wrong defensive coordinator for the type of talent that you guys have on the field?
Yeah, good question. I think it's a combination of all the things that you already mentioned, right? So I know a lot of Cowboys fans, of course, the way things happened versus Green Bay was like, it's Dan Quinn's fault. He self-sabotaged because he wanted to leave and all these lazy narratives. But Dan Quinn's a good defensive coach and he's a good head coach. We saw what happened last night out there in Washington. So I think the tricky part with me personally, I wasn't a fan of the Zimmer hire, but I felt like Coach Zimmer was the best at just what was available, because what the Cowboys did is they thought that, hey, Dan Quinn's going to interview with Seattle, he's going to interview with Washington, right? But if he doesn't get the Seattle job, which he really wants, he's just going to come on back, right? So what happened is he didn't get the Seattle job. So the Cowboys kind of sat on their hands like, okay, well, we're going to get Dan Quinn back. He was at the Senior Bowl. He was part of the scouting process. And then all of a sudden he said, you know what? Actually, I'm going to take this commander's job, bro. I think I'm going to go ahead and dip. And they're like, okay, well, they kind of got caught with their pants down, you know what I'm saying? But then they also thought, okay, we have Joe Witt Jr. We can bring him on the defensive coordinator. Well, Joe Witt says, nah, bro, I'm going with Dan Quinn. So then they were scrambling, right? They didn't interview some of the guys that were available, like a Coach Weaver from the Ravens, to say, okay, maybe can you bring him in? Or, you know, these younger minded defensive coaches. So then you have to kind of go, who can we find? They bring in Coach Zimmer. But the problem with my standpoint of them bringing in Coach Zimmer is not Coach Zimmer. It's the fact that they brought him on a 1-year deal. So essentially what they're saying is this entire defensive staff, this entire coaching staff, you guys got 1 year to prove it. Now, RB, this is like saying, okay, next week or this Sunday, I want you to grill out and cook all the Giants fans a barbecue, right? But we're not gonna do it at your house. You gotta come over to my house and cook it. Well, I don't know what Tuck's season is. I don't know what type of grill he likes to use. I don't know what's like you're having to cook dinner immediately with all my ingredients. And I feel like when it comes to Coach Zimmer, he's having 1 year to cook with all of Dan Quinn's ingredients. You know, like, hey man, I don't like Coach Zimmer. I don't like these small defensive tackles. Like I like mine, but will Mozzie make it work? Well, I don't like these sage, like we'll make it work. So he's trying to cook and everything's kind of getting rushed. And I feel like from the Cowboys standpoint, what happens is, you know, Dan Quinn simplified things, right? I kind of come like an AAU basketball coach. Hey, we have the talent. I don't want you guys thinking just go out there and play and just make things happen, fly around, get to the ball carriers, you know, use your God-given ability. Well, Coach Zimmer is not that way. I want things done my way or it's the highway. So now you have those talented players out there. Well, hold on, wait. Am I supposed to be in the A gap? Well, wait, no. So now they're thinking, right? There's that hesitation. You're not seeing guys read and react. So, you know, is it salvageable? Maybe. Me personally, I'm just saying our defense is fried, and I'm focusing on offense because not only is it a scheme thing, it's a mentality thing, and also a personnel combination. It's just a bad mix for winning football at the NFL level.
Yeah, and I felt that way when the season was going to start. You know, I thought the defense was not going to be the same. And then, you know, obviously the big talk was, you know, with the Dak contract, and there were like these, you know, reporters nationally, oh yeah, maybe he'll go Bill Belichick, go to the Giants, and Dak Prescott, he'll become, you know, a near giant. And so, you know, once he got the deal, obviously, you know, and look, it was an inflection point, I feel like, for the Dallas Cowboys, because it made sense. All right, we've got the head coach on a 1-year deal. What's going to happen there? And then, you know what? We're going to leave Dak on a 1-year deal. And if things don't work out, you know, we can reset at both positions. And maybe that would have been a good thing for the Cowboys, right? New head coach, rookie quarterback. You still have Mikey you got to pay. You just paid CD Wright. Maybe you paid Trayvon a couple of years ago. You know, maybe that would have made sense. But they re-signed Dak right before the season started. But I was even saying it, you know, going into the season before he even signed it, where I was like, they didn't sign a running back at all. I know they brought in Dalvin Cook. You know, they brought back Zeke, but Zeke is cooked. Like, he's still a serviceable player, but he's not what he was 3 or 4 years ago with Dallas. And the same thing with Dalvin Cook. And I said, if I know Mike McCarthy, he's going to put it all on Dak Prescott to do everything. And when Dak has to pass the ball 40-something plus times a game, he doesn't get it done more than likely. He can do it, but the statistics and his decisions, he makes a little bit more mistakes. Mm-hmm. And I go back to how Mike McCarthy was in Green Bay. with Aaron, it was Aaron Rodgers or nothing. Like Aaron Rodgers basically had to do everything. And so that to me was a concern. And what I'm seeing right now is, Lamb and Dak out of sync a little bit, which is not something that we've seen the last couple of years. Lack of the running game, obviously. Even the Jake Ferguson, the tight end, who has been a very good integral player for you guys the last couple of years, not getting involved. So is the offense, are you concerned at all with the offense to where if everything is on Dak, do you think that he can handle it? Or are they going to have to make adjustments offensively and try to find something in the running game? Because you can't just rely on Dak to do everything, in the passing game.
Yeah, I'm extremely concerned about the offense. I know the defense is the red blinking light, but I'm concerned about the offense for this reason particularly. We also have 2 rookie offensive linemen starting as well. And you also don't have the talent in the running back room. So that changes. At least last year, right? You had Tyron Smith when healthy, and Tyler Biadasz, even though Cowboys fans may have hated him, that he's been a starter since the moment he was drafted. So you didn't have that learning curve. Right now, we're going through a learning curve with Taylor Guyton, our young left tackle, and also with Cooper Beebe as well. But then you also don't have the guys on the back end as a running back position that can go out there and just make things happen on their own. So when you marry that with a non-creative run scheme, a rookie pretty much offensive line and very average running backs, it's a recipe for disaster, and you're putting that all on Dak Prescott's shoulders. Now, you can do that, but here's the problem that we're running into. We faced it versus the Saints, we faced it versus the Ravens, and hell, we probably face it on Thursday night, is if I know your offensive line is limited, I know you don't have the running backs that can really gash us and put fear in it, I am just going to rush 4 and drop 7 back in coverage, play the soft zone, shade towards CeeDee Lamb, and keep everything in front. And that is a recipe for disaster, because even by doing that, you're still getting pressure. I did a film session the other day showing how many times the New Orleans Saints were able to get pressure rushing 4 versus 5 people. So so it's just one of those things where if the Cowboys want to get some rhythm offensively, they're going to have to find the run game somewhere. And you mentioned Dalvin Cook. I'm a huge Florida State fan, but he's on the practice squad. I don't give a damn how old he is. There is no reason why Dalvin Cook should be on the practice squad and 5th behind Deuce Vaughn. And I like Deuce. Good, great kid. Met him a few times, but he's not Dalvin Cook. So it's like they just don't have an identity of what they want to do. But I think eventually throughout the season, they'll find it. But here's the huge caveat. This schedule is not going to allow that. The schedule is not going to allow for you to kind of find a rhythm week 7 and get things rolling. Oh no, we have, the Giants are coming off a victory, and then you have the Steelers, then you have Detroit, and then you have the 49ers who will probably be healthy. So you don't have time to sit and work on these things while you're in the air. You got to get things rolling. So, it's going to be interesting to see how the Cowboys fix things. But as far as the defense is concerned, I think our best defense is our offense scoring points and putting teams behind the 8 ball, but they have to go out there and pass the ball 40 plus times to keep up. But if we're not able to do that, it might be a long season for Cowboys fans.
Yeah. And that kind of leads, obviously into the game with the Giants is, we as Giants fans, and for me, I wasn't very, with this offseason, I thought for sure they were going to go quarterback. And reset at that position. You had every reason to. Daniel with the neck injury, ACL, they choose to go Malik Neighbors. Great player, out of LSU, playmaker, 100%. And they rolled out there with Daniel Jones. And week 1, we just got trampled. By Minnesota. Now, when I look at hindsight now, the way that they beat the way that they beat the 49ers in week 2,
right,
the way that they handled, the Houston Texans in week 3, Brian Flores is doing a really good job with that defense and having them playing fast. So it's like, all right, that week 1 matchup, maybe we underestimated that defense, and didn't think it was going to be as good and that Brian was going to have them playing as good as they did. Okay. Fast forward to week 2 is, you just couldn't get anything going offensively. Yeah, you scored, 3 touchdowns, but you don't bring an extra kicker, and that all happens. And you could look halfway at one dozens or the other, but the times that we did get the football, you couldn't move the ball really in that second half. You put up whatever you put up, and you just couldn't get the ball rolling. So you lose that game. Last week, come out hot, scored 3 touchdowns in the first half, and then second half 52 total yards in the second half. And so I'm looking at this game and I'm like, wow, I see the way that they play the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm hoping that right now we've been allowed to run heavy packages, 2 tight ends, trying to run the ball with Devin Singletary. Right now, Malik Neighbors is doing a phenomenal job these last couple of weeks, getting points on the board, making plays. And I know there's been a little bit of jabber going on between him and Trayvon, so I'm looking forward to that. But, I said it today, man. I was joking around. I was in my fan bag. I said 10 years ago, we had another LSU wide receiver that made a name for himself in a primetime game versus the Dallas Cowboys. And I said, fast forward 10 years, we have another LSU wide receiver in primetime versus the Cowboys. We lost that game, by the way, but in primetime that can make his name in the National Football League and let everybody know that Malik Neighbors is here. And I think he's kind of already done that, but it would be sentimental to happen. And so I'm looking at this game and I'm looking at the same we are. We need to run the football. The way that our defense played last week was phenomenal, way better than it did the last 2 weeks. And I think that's going to be the key, with Guyton at the left tackle, solid player, but he's a rookie. Obviously, he's going to go through growing pains. Trey Smith, now you got him at left guard, with a rookie left tackle, makes things a little bit tougher for him. Cooper Beebe at the center position. He's kind of playing out of position. He was a guard. Now you got him playing center. Might be a game where Dexter, I know you're worried about Dexter Lawrence coming into town.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that Burns and Kayvon can get something going. Kayvon typically plays good against the Cowboys, makes impactful plays. I'm liking our chances in this game, but then game will start and CD will go for 68 yards and that'll be it. But I'm feeling good thus far going into this game that it should be a good fight. And we should win. We have a chance to win this game.
Yeah, I think, most importantly, the Cowboys have to get over that mental hurdle, right, of stopping the run. If they're able to stop the run and put Daniel Jones behind the sticks, then that's when it can kind of work out into our favor, because I feel like our defensive line can get pressure, but you got to earn that, right? And I know a lot of people saying, well, it's Singletary. It doesn't matter. Like, bro, they literally ran the ball down your throat 45 times. Like, that's disrespectful. I mean, so this is my guy, Pest, right? We used to play Madden. I wouldn't even disrespect someone like that in Madden, just run the ball 45 times, but it shows that you could not stop it. And so I guarantee you, when the Giants go to the film, you're going to say, we are going to try this first. If you could slam money on the first 2 plays from the Giants offense, it'd be run down the hill, run an A gap, B gap, and probably an outside run and maybe a little RPO. You pull out, let Daniel Jones. Like, they are going to try everything that's showcased on film before the Cowboys can show that they can prove and stop it. So, ultimately, this is going to be a much closer game because of the inefficiencies of the Cowboys defensively. Now, offensively, I feel like we should be okay because Dak Prescott, and I feel like Dak Prescott's the ultimate separation, but you're asking him to do a lot. If you're going to ask him to throw 41 times versus that front that you just mentioned, there's going to be opportunities for them to get sacks, strip fumbles, or the possible interception that can swing the momentum in a close game. So the Cowboys are going to have to get back to the very basics of football. If you play Pee-wee or whatever, you got to be able to stop the run and run the ball. That's it. Like, if they do that, 2 little simple fixes, then we'll be clicking, right? But if they cannot do that, it is going to be a long day, and they're going to allow the New York Giants to possibly sneak out of here with the victory, because you do have that guy in Malik Neighbors, and you also have some other wide receivers who I like as well, and Wan'Dale Robinson, that one play can change the course of a game. So you're going to have to do those little small things that add up, assignment-based football, not hero ball, and go out there and play. But my biggest concern, I know Cowboys fans want to hear this, is the pressure is on us. Like, you guys are playing with house money. Like, who cares? You know what I'm saying? Like, you guys, if you guys losing it at Bears 40-0 again, okay, it just is what it is. You'll be posting, talking about Shador, and all sorts of stuff like that, having a good old time. The pressure is on the Cowboys, with the whole world watching on Thursday Night Prime Football, to show that they're not soft. I think that's really, it's just your manhood, bro. Are you soft or not? And are you going to allow a team for the 3rd week in a row? And honestly, the Cleveland Browns could have did it if they would have had Nick Chubb. They just didn't have Nick Chubb, right? And what Jerome Ford had 94 yards, so he was right there. But Are you going to show the world you're not soft and going to allow teams to run all over you? Or are you going to man up and fight back? And we'll see what happens on Thursday night.
So I want to ask you, like, overall, how do you feel about the team going forward in the future? Right. So now, we were talking about this, in our spaces today. And, obviously, we covered it. Dak got paid. Lamb got paid. Mike is the next one up. And, there's a lot of money. Peter King was interviewed today. Well, not today, but a buddy of mine, Ivan, he played an interview with Peter King. And, they were talking about the Dallas Cowboys and, talking about, bringing in a guy like Derrick Henry. And there was like stuff going around where Peter King heard like they couldn't afford to bring him in. And it was more about, we couldn't afford it because if we did that, we wouldn't be able to re-sign the guys that we re-signed and do what we did. Obviously, we know Dak had a big cap hit this year, and then they gave him the big extension. How are you feeling about the team moving forward? I'm not very confident that I think even if you guys make the playoffs, I think McCarthy's gone, and so you're more than likely going to be getting in a new head coach, and obviously Dak is back here, so. Are you worried about getting guys like Micah re-signed if that's going to be something that's going to be able to get done? And how do you feel about the overall structure of where the team? Jerry came out today and said, you can blame the struggles of the Cowboys on me. Like it's my fault. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, 1,000%. But he don't agree with that. That's the problem. He's just saying it because there's a movement being sparked by Cowboys Nation. So he just gives a little bit, but Jerry don't feel like it's his fault. He never takes accountability for anything. But as far as the future of the franchise of this team, it depends, right? I think a lot of Cowboys fans, and I talked about this on Twitter today, they set the standard low, right? Because a lot of Cowboys fans, whether it's in Spaces or YouTube or whatever, is like, we haven't been to an NFC championship game. I'm just trying to get back. I'm like, that's it. That's what we're aiming for, to get back to a damn NFC championship game. The ultimate goal is to win a Super Bowl. Now, when I look at the Kansas City Chiefs, which I actually live in Kansas City, compare that to the Cowboys, it's a night and day difference. And there's a large gap between the two, right? So I feel like the teams like the Ravens, right? They've seen that monster of Kansas City and been punched in the mouth and know what they got to do to keep up. So you got to spend in free agency and go get a Roquan Smith, and you got to go be active because you got to deal with this monster. The same thing when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, which we all can't stand, love them or hate them. They've seen that monster. They almost tasted another victory of sending Pat Mahomes home in the Super Bowl, and they fell short. So they're aiming to get back to that. For the Cowboys, it's just like, we win the division and make the playoffs and see what happens. Whatever happens. I just don't think we have a championship mindset. But I will say this, we do have the foundation of our guys, at least for another 3 to 4 years, with Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb. We will sign Micah Parsons. You have Trayvon Diggs, right? You have a young offensive line in Tyler Smith and Tyler Guyton, Cooper Beebe, the guys that you mentioned earlier. And then Jake Ferguson's probably going to emerge as one of the top 5 tight ends so you have that young nucleus. You could put pieces around it, but do I ever think you're going to see a year where we come back and be like, oh, the Cowboys mean business? I highly doubt it, because think about that. If we are talking right now, and even as our defense looks, if you say, I got to prepare for Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Derrick Henry, it takes a little bass out your voice a little bit.
100%.
It takes a little bit of the bass out of your voice, right? But as of right now, you're like, we just got to stop CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. You know what I'm saying? So those are some of the caveats and things the Cowboys, I just don't think that's their mindset. And they don't understand that when you have a severely talented roster like Philadelphia, it might be a game where Jalen Hurts is struggling and A.J. Brown might be hurt and D. Smitty can't get it going. Well, there goes Saquon, and you're getting everything that you paid for. Or, so when you have that talent, you're not solely relying just on one person. When it comes to the Cowboys, it's Dak Prescott and them, because if Dak has an off game, we ain't winning no games because ain't no one else picking up the tab. So it's just an unfortunate situation. So that's where I kind of think the Cowboys are headed futuristic.
Yeah, I mean, look, one thing, at the end of the day, I hate the Cowboys. I hate the Philadelphia. I hate the teams in my division. But I've learned to really, to really go ahead and give credit where credit's due. And I think it's like, 72% of your guys' roster is all built through the draft. You guys do draft very, very, very well. And, Bland was a guy, wasn't really highly touted, came in, led the league in interceptions last year. Trayvon Diggs wasn't really highly touted coming out when he came in. He emerged into something good. Obviously, Micah, but you have other guys like Armstrong, who was a solid player for y'all. D-Law's always been there, always been a dominant player. But Mazzie Smith, I think he was he was a first round pick, I believe. Again, he looked good, right? There was some concerns his rookie year, but seemed like he's evolved pretty well throughout his rookie year. And then last year made some good plays. Your secondary, Wilson, all that, like looking good. And I don't have any doubt that the offensive line is going to get better. You guys do a good job with the offensive line and stuff like that. It's just, I see a lot of the money commitments. And, we were talking about this today. I'm like, man, because I know you were very in for Dak getting in the extension. I saw all the tweets. You were all for it 100%.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of wondering, like today, and we were talking, I was like, man, not that he shouldn't get paid. I wonder if it's the right move for them to commit that kind of money right now to do it when you have all of these other commitments, and maybe you're missing the opportunity, to maybe get to reset at that position and be able to bring in some other solid guys. And maybe they thought they were going to get that with Trey, but that went over like a fart in church. So,
Well, here's what I tell people, because I get that all the time, right? You pay Dak Prescott, hey, well, actually, K-State got rocked too by BYU. So, my daughter just dropped her off at BYU, and so Kansas State got rocked. So it's bad for Kansas football as a whole. But I was going to say, yeah, when it comes to Dak Prescott, because I hear this all the time, right? We're paying Dak too much. We won't be able to sign guys. And the question that I always revert back to people when they ask me that, okay, Dak Prescott in 2016 was a 4th round pick. Didn't pay him. Rookie year, sophomore year, junior year, didn't pay him. You franchise tagged him twice, okay? So just for those first, 5 years, tell me some free agents that the Cowboys went in and made during that time period where you felt like, oh, shit, they're going all in. They
Not
did.
really a lot. Not
They
really
did,
a lot.
so they didn't. So it's like they didn't even take advantage. What they did is they signed Ezekiel Elliott, signed a running back, which you never do, right? No, even if you are playing Madden franchise, you're not going to sign a running back that early in his contract.
Saquon.
Yeah. So they did that, but it wasn't like the Cowboys went out there and loaded this roster with talent when they had Dak Prescott on a cheap deal. And I remember when I came into this content space, 2020, it feels like just yesterday, right? But it was like I was having a conversation. We need to sign Dak before Jared Goff and Carson Wentz, right? So this is the Cowboys' fault by franchising, tagging him not once but twice, because you push all the money back. If you wanted to move on from Dak Prescott, like the Eagles did, like the Rams did, and got out for cheap,
you give him the contract first.
Yeah, but you did this, right? You could have signed Dak's first contract maybe for $32 million, like whatever the price was going way back then, and then say, you know what? Enough's enough. He's just not the guy. Moved on, got some pieces, and kind of went with it. This is the Cowboys' fault, but the Cowboys have this ego when it comes to the draft, right? And you mentioned a lot of the draft picks that we talked about, right? But you haven't had to draft a first-round quarterback since Troy Aikman. So what gives you the confidence that you can just go get another one? I mean, you guys have been through it trying to replace Eli, even though Daniel Jones was decent. He's not so it's not as easy as people make it seem. And what the Cowboys got was a cold splash of water, because they thought they had it, RB. They thought they had their Dak Prescott replacement, and they put him out there in preseason for the whole world to see, and everybody was like, yeah. Trey Lance was bad. When I had Dak Prescott, haters was like, man, this ain't gonna work. So it backfired, because drafting a quarterback does not guarantee you're going to get the quality of quarterback in Dak Prescott. And what's happening right now, we're seeing it. Damn, the Eagles got a pretty good quarterback. I mean, love him or hate him, but he's decent, right?
Yep.
And damn, we all watched last night. Well, here comes the Commanders.
Jaden Daniels, man, yeah.
Yeah, so there's another one. And then what happens if the Giants have a bad season this year? Then all of a sudden it's Shedeur Sanders or whoever, and you guys get loaded. And now we're trying to go out there with Trey Lance. Dak Prescott is the only thing that's been keeping the Cowboys afloat in the division. You move on from that, things can get ugly real quick. I mean, I've been saying it. It's like, I don't want to become the New York Giants. I'm not trying to become the New York Giants where we have this mediocre quarterback tossed into a talented wide receiver because it just doesn't come together. So me personally, I was excited that we signed Dak. I'm appreciative that we signed Dak, but you can't just rest on your laurels and be like, we're good there, or we draft well, because the Cowboys, what they do is we're playing, I think I counted seven rookies. Like 7 rookies, bro. Like, come on, that's a lot of rookies to be playing in week 4 of the NFL season. Like, I sat back and I watched the Chiefs, case in point, Kingsley Samatea, he was struggling. Well, Andy Reid said, hey, bro, we're not going to go through this learning curve while we playing, Cincinnati. Come sit by me and we'll figure this out later, right? But the Cowboys, we don't have that insurance policy. If Tyler Guyton's struggling, we ain't got no one to go to. If Cooper Beebe's struggling, we ain't got. So these kids are just out there playing willy-nilly, making mistakes, and we don't have no insurance policy. So I don't agree with the philosophy. It takes free agency and draft. It can't just be one or the other, but it's just their mindset.
Yeah, I think I've grown an understanding for Dak, man. Like, for me, I always make the joke that I'll take Dak during the regular season. The guy puts up numbers during the season. Tony Romo was the same exact way. And then when it came to the playoffs, they just disappeared. I know he had that one good game, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and, a couple years ago. But for the most part, Tony and Dak, up until that point, they go missing, right? Like last year, there was a lot of hype. You go and you're playing, I think they played Green Bay, came to town. Everybody expected them to win that game, and they just get trampled by Jordan Love and the Green Bay. The year before that, the no offensive lineman and Zeke's hiking a ball, and it's like, dude, what are you guys doing? And it's just like they shit the bed. And so I've been hearing these rumors, Belichick coming to Dallas, and then there's the Belichick to Giants, and then before the Dak got the contract, they were like, fuck it, roll out there with Dak, let him go, straight up, get Shador, bring Shador in here, Jerry will do it. But like you said, you guys haven't had to draft a quarterback in the first round since Troy Aikman, undrafted guy like Tony Romo comes along when you guys had Vinny Testaverde, who shit the bed, it was just getting old, comes in, and Tony was your guy for a bunch of years. Dak kind of came in the same way. Tony got hurt, Dak came in, and now story's been there. So, and when you look at his numbers, it's been like
Dak wasn't even going to make the roster. Dak was actually 4th string. It took 2 injuries for Dak to get the opportunity.
Dude, that's crazy. That's crazy. And dude, when you look at his numbers, like they talk about it all the time, he's got the same type of numbers almost as Patrick Mahomes over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what is it that can't get them over the hump, that when they get to that playoff time, they look like such a stout team? What, 3 12-win seasons back to back to back? And then the playoffs come and they just disappear. What happens with that?
Yeah, it's funny. I was just talking about that today on Twitter. I think it's a mental block, right? And the example that I was given is like, me when I was in school and stuff, I'm a study guy. Like I like to read a lot, study. But when I got to that exam, I got a little shaky. I was always second. I would know the answer. I've seen this answer 1,000 times. I know this answer, Tucker, but it's saying or. It could be B. You know what I'm saying? So I started getting test anxiety, where all of a sudden I look at my scores. I'm just like, bro, you got a C on that test when you've been studying for 2 to 3 weeks, right? I think it's the same thing when it comes to the Cowboys. They know they're talented. They trust themselves, but when it gets to the playoffs, it's accident waiting to happen. Can the Cowboys get to the NFC Championship? Here's the and they tightened up a little bit, right? They tightened up, and I think that's what happens ultimately when it comes to the Cowboys. Now, you mentioned the Tampa Bay game, which I was at, versus Tom Brady. Why was that different? Because they were scared to death. Nobody gave them a chance. Y'all not supposed to be here. You never beat Tom Brady. Y'all can't win on grass. Y'all can't win on the road. So there was no pressure on that game because everyone thought they were going to lose that game and they had no shot. And they went out there calm, relaxed, and they went out there and got the job done. But then what happened after that, RB? Is this the year for the Cowboys? If this is the time, they just beat Tom Brady. They're rolling. This is going to be the year. I see it. Everyone has them placed as the favorites. Oh, whoa. And those hands started shaking again. I think the Cowboys need to really block out the noise. And the hardest thing is because Our owner creates the noise. If there is no noise, if there's silence, well, damn it, Jerry's going to create something, right? If everything's kind of smooth and steady, I think this Dallas Cowboys is a Super Bowl winning team. Here comes all the media. Here comes all the circus. So
Yeah.
you really need a coach to keep this team level, not too high, not too low. I mean, hell, there was players, and I mean, shit, it's public. There was players who had, post-game after party celebration flyers for Green Bay. What the hell are you doing? Like, what gives you the audacity to already have, post-game parties already set up and established around Dallas? Like you were just going to walk through the Packers. They got too high. But why did they get too high? Oh, well, damn, they just won the NFC East, and now they have home field advantage, and the Cowboys don't lose at home, and Jimmy Johnson's now in the Ring of Honor, and the curse is removed, and they just beat Detroit, and so everyone's singing their praises, and they got far too ahead of themselves because it's a young Green Bay team with the quarterback who's only played about 6 to 7 games, and they came in there and got punched in the mouth, and when they got punched in the mouth, the biggest problem with the Cowboys is they're fake bullies. Like we all know that bully's been talking big. They finally get punched in the mouth, and it's like, I'm bleeding.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to fight back. It's the same thing with the Cowboys, and you're seeing that already show this year. As soon as it's the first drive, Saints take the ball, run down your throats, punch it in the mouth. Bro, I'm bleeding. I'm pointing at him. I'm blaming him. I'm blaming him. I'm blaming him. It's not my fault. Is it? And they fold. So they got to get it up here. The talent is there in Dallas, but up here, they are very soft as a culture, a football team, and they're going to have to fix it if they want to get to that ultimate level.
Yeah, man. Look, I think they made a lot of questionable things, like the signing of Amari Cooper, right? To me, signing him before giving Dak a deal, to me, was kind of like a little bit of a slap, because at that, they were both up, and I don't think Dak got a deal that year. And then Amari got that $100 million deal. And then after a year, you trade him. And I thought Amari Cooper did really, really well with Dallas when you guys acquired him from Vegas. And then they brought in Brandon Cooks. And I thought Brandon Cooks was a nice addition. Veteran guy, solid route runner, can still make some plays. You had some other guys like Noah Brown and stuff like that were kind of trying to emerge a little bit. And you still had Michael Gallup. Now it's just CD, and there's really, you're trying to get the guy Turpin involved, who's a great special teamer. Is he a really good wide receiver? Is he versed, stuff like that? You still have Brandon Cooks there. I don't feel like you don't have that third guy, especially now. That third guy would have been really crucial now when you don't have a running game. Gives you another outlet, gives you something. And so I just, some of their decisions that they've made, I put in a question about it, and I think that they regret it. But I understand, like, kind of what you're saying is, the other thing too is, like, Jason Garrett wasn't a bad coach, but he didn't keep the team level, and he was a yes man. Basically, did everything that Jerry Jones wanted him to do. And then, Mike McCarthy comes in, and he's not really a guy that's going to keep you level. He might produce good offense, and definitely the offense took a step up from when Kellen Moore was there and all that stuff. But you got to have somebody that's, like you said, going to keep this team level, keep their perspective. Let's just focus on this game this week. Let's not worry about next week. Who cares? Let's focus on this week. And that guy might be Bill Belichick. It might be a Mike Vrabel, right? It might be those guys that are going to keep this team focused, because the talent is undeniable. Offensively, the Cowboys last 2 years been one of the top scoring teams in football, and they disappear at the end of the year. So,
and the problem with that, right? The coaches that you mentioned, because I was team Mike Vrabel from the beginning, right? But also Belichick. Those are guys that come in that has leverage, right? Because that's what the Cowboys hate. They want guys like Coach Zimmer, who's been out of the league, and you kind of, I'm just happy to be here, man. It's, whatever you guys need. Like, they want guys like that because you're kind of indebted to the Cowboys. Versus the Bill Belichick right now, like, bro, go get me some defensive. Actually, you know what? I was a GM over in New England. I'm going to go get some defensive tackles my goddamn self. You know what I'm saying? Like, but they don't want that, because they still want to remain in control. And that's the biggest problem. So they want guys that, you can coach, but I can still come into the coaches' meetings. Like, I'm not sure if you guys ever saw the Cowboys Hard Knocks, but Jerry Jones is in the morning coaching meetings. Like, for what, bro? Like, go be rich. Like, like that it's just a huge problem. It's a huge disconnect because they have to have their fingers on everything, and it doesn't allow the coaching staff to really build the culture, a football culture that it takes to have success on the field. And it's very unfortunate. But yeah, I would love to have a Bill Belichick because you need guys. And I always said this to Cowboys fans. I felt like if there was anybody that was going to win a Super Bowl in Dallas, it was Bill Parcells, right? Because Bill Parcells, you're not getting too high, bro. Cut all that celebrating off. Y'all ain't dish. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like y'all haven't did it. But what happened with Parcells? Why did he get sent out? Because he was at odds with Terrell Owens and Jerry Jones wanted him, and Parcells said, I don't want this on my team. So instead of allowing the coach to have his roster and having the guys that he wants, Jerry Jones stepped down, intervened, kicked Parcells out, and the rest is history. But he doesn't get credit for getting DeMarcus Ware and the Tony Romos and those types of players. A lot of the tradition, the guys that really built this franchise post the 90s was all Parcells guy. You know what I'm saying? But he didn't get to see the finished product and get to finish it all. So it's just that when it comes to the Cowboys, man, those two people upstairs, it's the biggest setback. And honestly, I don't know how we overcome it because the culture will never change as long as you have ownership always stepping in and coming to the rescue. Like if, let's say, for instance, if Coach Zimmer says, you know what, Micah, you're tripping, bro. You got to sit. I'm not dealing with you today. I guarantee you Jerry Jones will be like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like there's a player on the Cowboys roster, our safety, Donovan Wilson. He has been getting cooked for 3 weeks straight. And we have a young guy in Wanye Thomas who's athletic, can return kicks, that can cover, can do all these great things. But why is Donovan Wilson on the field? Because Jerry paid him. That's it. Not because of performance. Jerry paid him. Why is Mozzie Smith on the field? Why? Not because of performance, because he was a first-round draft pick, and they're going to force him out there. Like, it's not about the best players playing. It's about salary, contract, and draft positions, and that's what gets you the opportunity in Dallas, not your on-field performance.
And we always talk about this too. I think Jerry's like, we think we've got it bad, with John Mara. And, when we just had our Hard Knocks and stuff like that, it kind of seemed, and I don't know if it was just a show he put on, but it kind of seemed like John will hint at what he wants a little bit, like with the Barkley situation. I won't be able to lose sleep, or, if we were going to pull off this trade, I'm going to get palpitations. But it goes back to saying, if the coach and the GM have a conviction, I'll support them and I'll go forth with it. Mm-hmm. And, so I always view the Cowboys and the Giants of having these owners that were always getting involved. But I always looked as the Cowboys as being in a way worse position. And I always joke around and said, Cowboys won't win a game or won't win another Super Bowl until Jerry Jones is either dead or no longer owns the team, because he's getting that involved. So at what point does that change? At one point does somebody – and he can't, because he's the GM, he's the owner, he's always involved. At some point in time, he's gotta step aside. And I hear what you're saying. They want these guys that are yes men. Okay, you're embedded to the Giants, but once Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick are the exact type of coach,
right?
And so I don't put it out of the realm that Belichick would go there and that Jerry would do it. But like you said, is Jerry going to be willing and is going to be okay when Bill says, yo, Jerry, get the fuck out of here. Like, right. You're a GM, get out of here. Why are you here? Get out. Because nope. Bill will tell him, get the fuck out. And right. Are you going to be able to handle that?
Nope, not at all. Not at all. And there's going to be a rift because Jerry has had not one soul in house to tell him no. Like, case in point, when he hired Mike McCarthy, everyone in the chat can tell you, what is Mike McCarthy known for being? An offensive quarterback guru coach, from Joe Montana to Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. The list goes on and on. But when he comes in, Jerry Jones says, listen, you can hire any staff members that you want and get your full staff and get whoever you want in here. Oh, but this young offensive coordinator in Kellen Moore, he's going to stay and he's going to call plays. Like, so if you're Mike McCarthy, you're an offensive coach, you didn't get to pick your offensive coordinator, right? So it wasn't until last year when Mike McCarthy finally got the opportunity to run his scheme, run his offense, and things kind of took off. So it's crazy. It's those types of things. Now imagine telling a Bill Belichick, oh, well, you can pick your own staff, but this cornerback coach, oh, he's staying and he's going to be your defensive coordinator. Bill Belichick like, well, all right, cool, bro. I'm going somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to Cleveland. I'm not dealing with this, right? Because he has some leverage. He has some elk about him, but that's the biggest problem. And, I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm also a Dallas Mavericks fan. And what finally happened with the Dallas Mavericks is Mark Cuban decided, you know what? I'm going to trust the basketball people to do basketball stuff. I'm going to go be rich real quick. I'm going to go do Shark Tank and some other stuff. Y'all handle this. And it's funny when he stopped doing all the sideline actions and fighting with the referees and, backflips, like the Mavericks culture and team and franchise just changed. But for some reason, Jerry Jones just wants to remain the number one attraction. He had his radio show today. What owner y'all know has a radio show, a local radio show every week? Had that after games. He's getting interviewed. He went out and said today, oh, Dalvin Cook is going to remain on practice squad until further notice. Well, shouldn't that be something we hear from Mike McCarthy? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, can we hear that from the coach? So it's like, it's just bad. Now, maybe Stephen Jones will step away a little bit more, not be so overbearing because Stephen Jones can't sell. But man, I don't know what it's going to take, to be honest with y'all. I think in order for the Cowboys to get where Cowboys fans are wanting them to get to, it's going to like get in the playoffs and kind of have an Eli Manning like run where we just get hot at the right time and there it is. But as far as just building a serious contender, I don't see it happening anytime soon in Dallas.
And the thing is, too, like you kind of hinted to it before, Jaden Daniels put on a hell of a performance last night. And I wasn't a very big Jaden Daniels guy. I didn't like his body type. I didn't like the hits that he took. He did clean it up, near the end of the year last year. But I just didn't think that was a guy. When I looked at him, I saw Justin Fields 2.0. That's what I saw. And look, I'm not saying that I'm changed. I'm convinced. I'm this, I'm that. I'm going to say he played a good game. He had a very, very good game against a team that just the previous week went toe-to-toe with Mahomes and the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
And he put on a performance. Who knows what's going to happen? Maybe in year 6, Daniel Jones emerges, right? Or we have a bad year. We draft a quarterback, and we know what Philadelphia is, although it looks like Jalen is having some struggles this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, we were talking about it. Kind of seems like they're doing kind of like what we did. It's Barkley, save us, Barkley, save us.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they reset there in a couple of years. And my buddy Mike, that was kind of his hot take is in a couple of years, don't be surprised if the Eagles move on from Jalen Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you got to have a competitive team in this division. Right. And I think that the Commanders are going to be getting there. I think they had a solid draft. I think Dan Quinn is going to have that defense playing well. And the quarterback, if it looks good, he's going to be doing some good things. We know what Philly is. It's going to be a competitive division, and you can't, if you're the Cowboys, you can't afford to start falling behind the 8 ball.
Right.
And because you have too much pride, to do things.
Yeah, and I think that helps. I think the division getting tighter helps push the Cowboys a little bit further along because they've been resting on the laurels, right? Let's keep it a buck, right? You get 2 bye weeks pretty much. You got it from the Giants. You got 2 from Washington. So that's 4 right there. So it's just between you and Philly, which typically we split. So it didn't cause that push, right? But I feel like, okay, let's say for instance, we do split with the Giants and then all of a sudden now we're splitting with the Commanders and splitting with Philly. Like now it looks a little bit different about how things used to be back when it was like Romo and then you had Eli and you also had McNabb where it was like, a back and forth. So I think that could push the Cowboys to be a little bit more aggressive in free agency and kind of versus sitting back. But I think their system is flawed, right? I just think that it's flawed. And what the Cowboys are doing, they have a safe plan, right? Because let's say, for instance, the Cowboys don't make the playoffs. Well, who's the first people going to blame? Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy, coach needs to go, right? Who's the second person everyone's going to blame? Dak Prescott. See, Dak Prescott wasn't worth the $60 million. Who's the third person people are going to blame? They're going to blame CeeDee Lamb. See, he was selfish. Never should have took all that money. Who's the fourth person? Micah Parsons. The front office gets away clean. No one's even going to point the blame at Jerry. No one's going to say a word. You got 5 people sitting there on the front line taking the bullets for you when no one's going to sit back and say, Well, damn, Cowboys fans since March was saying you need a running back. You skipped over all the running backs in the draft because you brought Ezekiel Elliott back. You bring Ezekiel Elliott back and you only give him 3 carries a game. That was flawed. Oh, well, damn, you moved on from Jonathan Hankins. You lost Jonathan Hankins to the Seattle Seahawks, who was your biggest run stuffer. You had Mozzie Smith coming off an injury, and you filled the void with no other defensive tackles. The guy you drafted, you cut him, and he moved on. That was flawed. Well, damn, you had, it's like no one's going to say anything about the personnel. Well, damn. You had Tyron Smith, who's been your all-pro left tackle, even though when he was healthy, he was still one of the best left tackles in the NFL. Well, you let him go to New York. You brought in a right tackle who's never played left tackle, trying to convert him to left tackle. You brought in a left tackle who's never played center, trying to convert him to center. That was flawed. So they're never going to have to take the blame for those decisions. It's going to be Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Micah Parsons, and they'll say, well, hey, we paid those guys top dollars, and they just didn't deliver on their end. We did our job, when everyone knows you did not do everything to go all in to win a championship. And that's why the Cowboys are going to face their fate. They're probably going to face this season, which is probably just a minimal season, wild card appearance. Be excited about that. And this will rinse and repeat the same process next all season.
Who do you think wins this division?
As of right now, I have Philly win the division, right? And Cowboys fans get pissed off at me, but it's just simple numbers, right? We haven't had back-to-back winners in so many years, and I feel like Philly is the most talented team. And typically in the regular season, you can kind of skate by with talent, you know what I'm saying? And they also got a second place schedule because they gave the division us last year. So I got Philly win the division, but I do have 3 playoff teams come out the NFC East, but hell, as things are looking right now, it might not be. It might be 2. It might not be us. I'm very high on the Commanders. I said this, loudly on a lot of shows. Like I felt like Jaden Daniels is one of the best quarterbacks in the draft, and that's including Caleb Williams. I felt like he was going to have a C.J. Stroud type boost to their Commanders, and I have them winning like 10 games, 9 to 10 games, and making the playoffs as well. So they're off to a hot start, but they're going to be extremely competitive. So I have 3 playoff teams coming out of the NFC East, hopefully.
Yeah. So. Well, dude, if they can, I said too, like I thought the Commanders were going to be a better team. I had the Giants finishing last in the division, especially after the first 2 weeks. Giants fans, we live, oh my God, the Commanders, that's 2 wins right there. And I said, no, you guys are underestimating this team. And, if they can build off what they did last night, and I'm sure that they will. I said it, man, like people thought it was the same old Commanders. I said, look, new ownership, new GM, new coach. It's a new culture, a new philosophy that they're building there. And you bring in guys like Bobby Wagner to help install that culture, which is what he did with Dan Quinn in Seattle. Hey, we're not going to let these guys come in our house and punk us, meaning like when we play them, they always beat us. We need to beat them. We need to do what we need to do. And granted, they didn't play the best game, but they scored on 7 possessions, putting in 7 field goals. So it wouldn't shock me at all if they finished second in the division or third in division and made a wild card spot. Because a lot of teams right now, Rams decimated with injuries, don't really know where they're going to be at. You just had the San Francisco 49ers drop back-to-back games. Not saying that their season is over, but they just dropped back-to-back games. So it's kind of wide open at this point.
Right.
Packers, I was high on the Packers. Love's going to be out a few weeks. I thought Love was going to win the MVP. That was my favorite to win the MVP this year. Malik Willis is playing okay, but what's going to happen? Nobody expected the Vikings to be as good as they are. They thought they were going to be last in that division, and some people thought maybe the Bears would sneak into the playoffs. And Caleb isn't really playing that well to start off, but he's a rookie. He's learning. So it's going to be an interesting year. And then if you couple in this game, say the Cowboys lose, say the Giants win. Well, now what does that do?
Right.
Like that throws a monkey into the wrench, because now the Cowboys will be 2 or 1-2 or 1-3. We'll be 2-2, but now you got 2-1. Commanders, 2-1 Eagles. That throws a hole, and that puts a lot of pressure now maybe on the Cowboys. They're going to be at the bottom of the division when they're never there.
Right.
And does that extinguish change? I don't know if you guys really do this, but does Mike McCarthy get fired middle of the year? Do they make that change?
And see, that's the problem. They will be more proactive to make that change and fire Mike McCarthy versus all the things that you just listed, showing that the NFC is kind of wide open. Versus, let's go make a trade and make a power move and shift the things. And like they'll do that, right? So if we lose, they'll blame Mike McCarthy and fire him. But if we win, instead of saying, okay, now we're 2-2, but the 49ers kind of bleeding out a little bit, Rams bleeding out a little bit, the Packers a little, like, let's go get that defensive tackle. Let's go move that second round pick and go get us a guy that can change the course and really stop this run. Or let's go get that wide receiver that can really just put this offense over the top. Or let's go get, like, they won't do that. It's going to have to break and get bad. And if we lose to the Giants, everybody will be mad. So they might give a comp pick to some unknown defensive tackle to kind of stop the bleeding. And it's just frustrating, man. But it just is what it is. I think a lot of Cowboys fans just accepted it. Like I said, the only thing that keeps us afloat and keeps us optimistic is Dak Prescott, because if you watch the game on Sunday, the only person that didn't give up was going to fight is Dak Prescott. Like Dak Prescott's going to be one of those guys you're going to have to fully just take us out. And I know as long as 4 is out there, at least got a chance, because he's not going to quit. So
yeah. How did you feel about the, because it's all over the place now, the CeeDee Lamb Dak exchange? CeeDee Lamb looking really, really heated. And we've seen this before, Terrell Owens and stuff like that, and whatnot. But I think Dez and Romo went at it a couple of times or whatnot. But that coupled in with the way you guys lost, that game, last on Sunday, and then losing the week before, obviously not a very good look. And then it seems like Micah was upset, and kind of said some things and whatnot. So there is some dysfunction there, and I feel like Mike McCarthy doesn't have a handle on what's going on and have control, and Jerry doesn't either. And I think Jerry thinks he does, but he doesn't. And it's like, I'm going to let the players be the players, but that's those things that you can't happen. I think if you have a stronger coach that has, to me, when you do that, I get the competitiveness, but it also tells me like you don't respect your coach when you do something like that. Like, because when you respect your coach, you remain professional and you do everything behind closed doors, and you don't handle yourselves in the way that you handle or say certain things like what Micah said.
Yeah, I think it's just, once again, going back to the culture, right? Because, one, when it comes to CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, I think they're close, right? I don't think there's like a beef or friction, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But when it comes to CeeDee Lamb, and I said this on Twitter, bro, you have to take the responsibility for that. Now, I know that the Cowboys were poo-pooing around when it comes to your contract, but you missed all of camp, right? But you told everybody you were working out, you were watching the playbook, you're getting sync. You're going to be in sync, right? So if you go back to the Saints game, there was a wide open touchdown that CeeDee could have ran. He stemmed off the wrong direction. Dak Prescott thought he's going to stem in. He stemmed out, right? My bad. Well, bro, those my bads are costing us in the game, right? The same thing that happened that really transpired, versus the Ravens. We're trying to go for a 2-point conversion because Dak Prescott is doing everything to battle his ass off, and you're running the wrong route. Like, what I'm saying? Like, we can't have this. So for Dak, it's like, bro, I expect you to be ready. You said you're going to be ready, but you're not ready. Think about the course of the game, how things change if we're marching towards the Ravens at the end of the half and CeeDee Lamb doesn't fumble the ball. You fumbled the ball.
The fumble.
You're making drops. So what are you pouting about, bro? If anyone should be throwing his helmet, it should be Dak Prescott. Like, you had the fumble, you had 2 drops, you're running the wrong routes. The cost is 2 points. Like, what's the big damn issue? So I think a lot of people need to settle down, but I think what the Cowboys need to find is their identity and who's the leader. Who's the leader? Be like, everyone just chill the hell out and, you know what I'm saying, and rattle in. And it can't be Dak Prescott doing everything, because a lot of people don't understand that. The casual fan, let me kind of educate you. We have a rookie offensive lineman center in Cooper Beebe. Why is Cooper Beebe able to start at a brand new position that he's never played before? Because Dak Prescott said, don't worry about setting the slide protects and locating the mic and everything. I'll do that. So he's doing that. He's also running the offense. He's also checking down, running the auto. So he has so many different things on his plate. Like, I can't be over here arguing with the defense as well. So who's going to step up and be the defensive leader? And when it comes to Micah Parsons, I feel like he wants to, but he still has some growing to do. You have to earn it, right? So if you're out there doing your job, but other people's not doing their job as well, like, there's a way to talk to people. Like leadership has to be earned. I think we just don't have those guys. A lot of our leaders, DeMarcus Lawrence, he's not really a vocal guy. Zach Martin, hell, I probably heard him speak like 3 times. So who is going to be that guy? Typically it would be Zeke, but Zeke's only getting 3 carries a game. So what the hell are you about to lead, bro? So it's like, it's just one of those dynamics where someone's going to step up and rise to the occasion outside of Dak Prescott, and I don't know who it's going to be. It should be CeeDee Lamb, but CeeDee Lamb is cool, calm, and collected, the same with Trayvon Diggs. So that's what the Cowboys is missing, and we don't have a coach that's going to come down and be like, hey, both of y'all get y'all shit together. You know what I'm saying? Let's focus. Yeah. We just don't have that. So,
all right. So I got the big question for you. What is your take on this game? You have the Cowboys winning. You got the Cowboys losing. What's your thoughts on this game?
I got the Dallas Cowboys winning 31-17. They respond back, but my biggest concern is, once again, will it be fool's gold? Will it be like, okay, we beat the Giants, they'll probably do sounds from the sideline, we're back, kind of rest and relax, and all of a sudden there goes Justin Fields and the Steelers. But I feel like the Cowboys will win this game. The Giants will fight, but I feel like eventually, as we get in the second half, you'll see the separation. I think our quarterback's going to be the biggest difference, and Dak Prescott's going to lead us to victory.
Yeah, I think
Brandon Cook's loading, I feel like.
Possibly, and that was the thing last year too. Is like Brandon, he went a few games where he really didn't pop off, and then he had that one game. I think he went like 7 catches for like 115 or 110 yards or something like that, and he had a touchdown. So he had that big game, but everybody was saying, "Get Cooks involved, get Cooks involved, get Cooks involved," and he wasn't doing that.
Yep. Yeah, but also I will say this about the Giants, man. You guys have a young safety who I freaking loved out of Minnesota. Newbin, man, I love that kid, man. Like I didn't do a lot of film study on him because we had so many safeties already in house, man. But he was by far one of my favorite defensive prospects to watch in this year's class, man. He's phenomenal. So it's kind of weird because when you're a draft guy, you kind of get excited to watch some of your kids play, but they're gonna be playing against us, man. But I definitely love Tyler Newbin, man. He's gonna be a study for y'all.
Yeah, man. I didn't. It wasn't that I hated the pick or the player. I hated the investment in the play in that position when you let a guy like McKinney walk. And had you had said, you know what, I don't want to invest that kind of money. Let me trade McKinney and get some type of an asset for him. You could have gotten a day 3 pick or maybe a day 2 pick. I don't doubt that you could have gotten a 3rd or 4th round pick for McKinney. And the same thing with Barkley last year. Like Barkley said, they didn't even make him an offer last year at all. And if that was your plan, trade him. The Ravens were offering a 2nd round pick last year for Saquon Barkley. You could have had an extra 2nd round. So even if you traded that 1 2nd round pick for Brian Burns, you would have had another 2nd round pick. And I'm like, okay, so you take Newbin, fine. Maybe you take a Teron Arnold, or maybe you take a Lassiter, right? Because you've got that pick available, and you just you didn't do it, right? So. Right. But I like Tyler Newbin. Drew Phillips is another one out of Kentucky that has been doing good. I don't think that he's going to play. Him or Adoree Jackson aren't going to play, so that's a little bit concerning. Nick McLeod will be out there. Nick has, played well against the Cowboys last couple of years. Banks and whatnot. What I'm hoping for in this game is that Shane Bowen, or somebody made a joke, Shane Martindale, because that's what he was last week. I'm convinced that guy went back the last 2 years and watched Martindale tape on how he was calling plays, because that's what he was doing. It was complete night and day difference. But I'm hoping that guys like Dexter Lawrence, who is our leader on defense, and Bobby O, lead that charge and really just try to attack at the line of scrimmage. I think the biggest thing I feel like we haven't been able to do the last couple of years is get pressure on Dak. And we let him sit back there and cook. And when you let him sit back there, he's going to dot you up. I don't think that we have the DBs that are able to cover CeeDee Lamb for more than what they need to. We have to get the pressure. So if our front can play like we played yesterday, which on Sunday, which I believe that they can, and then I think offensively, I could see the Giants getting off to an early lead and maybe leading at half. And then I do see the Dallas Cowboys coming back. I'm going to pick the Giants in this game, and I'm probably going to regret this, and I'm being a fan, but I'm going to pick the Giants in this game in a close one. And I'm going to say the Giants win like 27-24, 24-21, win it with a field goal and whatnot. And the defense, I think Dak will have the ball, but the defense will make a play and something or whatever. And that'll be the end of the game. But I wouldn't be surprised if we lost this game. It wouldn't surprise me at all if this was a get right game, for the Dallas Cowboys. Just like we had a lot of high hopes going in last year, and you guys dropped the 40 bomb on us.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to pick the Giants in this game in a close game, like 24-21, 27-24. But I think it's going to be a test, and I think it's going to be an eye opener for both teams. Like we've been talking about, I think that's going to give the Giants a boost and saying, look, we can compete here. This is a team that used to beat us all the time. Now we can compete. And I think it'll be an eye-opening thing for the Dallas Cowboys. Like, yo, what are we doing here?
Mm-hmm.
And what do we need to change? We own this team, and they just took it to us.
Right.
Like, and we need to do something. So, but so let everybody know, man, we're going a little bit over about an hour, 10 minutes here. I don't want to keep you too long. Let me know, let everybody here know where they can find you, where your content is, what you do. I was talking you up all week, man. I know you were really, really plugged in with the Cowboys, so I was excited to get you on. But let everybody know where they can find you, brother.
Man, thanks, my guy. Like I say, it's always a pleasure to come on, man, and represent. So we'll do this. We'll do it for Thanksgiving too, man. You know what I'm saying? Because for Thanksgiving.
Happy gobble gobble.
Well, it depends on if we lose, man. Our season's done, man. I'm gonna switch, man. But thanks for having me. You guys can find me on all social media platforms at jtuck151. That's my handle on not YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and also Twitter. My YouTube channel is CFO Sports, so we do a lot of Cowboys content, but draft season we do a lot of college coverage as well. So breaking down prospects like Tyler Nubin and many more. I also cover the Kansas Jayhawks football team, is actually out here struggling as well. They play TCU on Saturday. So do a lot of college stuff as well, man. And just love talking football with football fans. I'm on Roundtable Sports Show. We do an NFC East Roundtable every Thursday at 5 p.m. Central. Thursday at all these time slots, 4 p.m. Central. I do a degenerate bet show. So for those of you who are sports bettors out there, man, we be locking and running money, man. I'll be locking up. So, just having fun talking football, man. Something I do. It's a passion of mine. Something I've always enjoyed and hugely blessed, the honor to be able to do the things that I love and see the things I'm able to see and meet great people such as yourself, man, and my dog Pest, man. So I appreciate each and every one of y'all.
For sure. Hey, quick question for you. How you feeling about college right now? And I'm going to ask like kind of the hot topic. Everybody like quarterbacks, man. How you, because I'll be honest, I was never really big into college, and I'm really diving in this year so much that my quarterback who's not even coming out. I'm rocking the Dylan Raiola, man.
Oh man,
okay?
You gotta wait for Dylan.
I'm rocking the boy Dylan, man. And so, Dylan is a guy I'm watching, with Nebraska, a tough loss, to Illinois. But he's got a few years, and I think it's probably like 2027.
You're watching the wrong quarterback, man. You are a New York Giants fan.
Arch Manning?
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, I'm watching. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Playing Batman. That kid's gonna be special, man. Like whenever he's ready to come out, man, people are gonna be just losing their minds because he can do a lot early. But this year, man, there's a lot of decent quarterbacks. I don't think there's a guy that I say really takes a team over the hump. It really is going to be situational, but a guy that unfortunately I told a lot of people about that was going to shoot up draft boards and shoot up this season. And I'm a Florida State fan, but he's an op, right? But Cam Ward in Miami, I just knew this kid's going to be spectacular. He's already shooting up. Everyone's raving about him, talking about Heisman. So Cam Ward, I am a Shador fan. I know a lot of people don't like him. I think that from a quarterback perspective, he has a lot of talent. Like going through his progressions, I like his footwork. He's cleaning the pocket, arm talent as well. Yeah. And it'd be nice to see him behind the actual offensive line.
Yes.
So I think like Shador would be a guy that's situational if he went to the right spot. Like if you were to take Shador and put him on the Cleveland Browns, I feel like he would be scary. But if you put him on the Panthers, not so much. This was like one of those things. Carson Beck out of Georgia. Yeah, cool. Quinn Ewers, cool. Jalen Milroe, cool. I don't like this year's draft class like I like last year's draft class. But there's enough, right? There's enough to kind of get you over the hump. So, my motto is I think NFL teams are going to start treating quarterbacks like running backs and kind of churning them and kind of seeing them already with Bryce Young. So, I think a lot of these kids need seasoning, but NIL money, transfer portal, teams. There's no continuity, but I definitely love college football, man.
Yeah, I'm a big Gators fan, and so I'm like, put Lagway in because Mertz ain't it. He had a decent game, but put Lagway in, and then there's like these talks. He was supposed to might transfer, go to Texas A&M and whatnot. I'm watching a lot of these quarterbacks like Cam Ward, Drew Allar. A lot. I like Shador. I was really looking forward to that week 2 matchup, seeing Dylan and him go at it. I thought that was going to be a high scoring game. And Hutchmaker and Tyron, like they were just collapsing that pocket, and that offensive line did not do a good job for Shador at all. And he did all he could possibly do in that game, but he can get out of the pocket, reset his feet, fire the ball. He's not afraid to take some chances. He can make plays. I think he's a better passer and a better all around like smart decision maker than what people give him credit for. What I've been seeing, Drew Allar,
he's very seasoned for
very seasoned. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Drew Allar is another guy, strong arm, athletic for his size, 6'5", 245. He's got some traits that I think can transition. Definitely has things that he can improve on. But a lot of these teams, man, they're not playing anybody. But I say this. If Cam Ward or Allar or these guys were going up against these scrub teams and not looking good, you'd be questioning that more than what you are right now. So I've been watching Arch. Every time Texas was playing, I was like, yo, can you guys get up by like 30 or 40 points and put Arch in? Because I want to see it. But I think Arch is playing good. And I know that Quinn Ewers, he's week to week. But if Arch goes out there and puts another good performance, or 2, I don't see how they go back to Quentin Ewers. I think it's slowly becoming Arch's job to lose.
It's going to be hard, man. It's going
to be tough.
Right. Which is a tough decision for being like one of the number 1 teams in college football, right? Going through a quarterback competition. So it's a good problem to have, as a Florida State fan. I ain't got no quarterback. So, to have 2 would definitely be fun, man. So
for sure. Well, hey, Jay, I appreciate you coming on again, spending some time. Hopefully, maybe we'll do it again. It depends on if you out. But come Thanksgiving time. But we'd love to get you back on and see where the teams are at that point. And kind of base it off of this first matchup. So I appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for coming through, brother.
Appreciate y'all, man. Peace.
Later. Hey guys, Jay Tuck coming in, spending some time. Love that dude, man. Great guy. And I'm blessed that he was able, and willing to drop in and spend some time with me, and honor our boy Pest, and continuing for this, for this podcast to go on. But look, I hope that you guys enjoyed it, man. Got some insight on the Dallas Cowboys. I said it, a lot of time. This guy was plugged in, knows a lot of stuff. Really big on watching talent. And I think a lot of that stuff was some things I didn't really privy to, like how involved, Jerry is getting involved, in the meetings and stuff like that. Had a lot of good insight. So I hope that you guys liked it. If you did, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, every channel. This is live on my YouTube, Pest YouTube, BGN Facebook page, BGN's YouTube. Be sure to go ahead and spread some love. Like and share, subscribe. I greatly appreciate you guys. Thank you for everybody in the chat that came through. I'll read KPS. Sorry that I didn't actually physically address what you guys were saying, but Dallas' biggest issue is the whole performs less than some of its parts. Dak tries, but egos have bent for the win. Too many big names, not enough glue guys. Okay, I mean, that's an interesting take there. I mean, that's an interesting point. You got a lot of heavy hitters, maybe not a lot of, additional guys, that are kind of keeping things together. So that's an interesting view. But again, man, appreciate y'all. Thank you guys so much for coming through. I'll end this how we always do. I'll see you guys next week. I got I think I got something sweet lined up for y'all. A couple of your favorite content creators that are in the community might be joining me next week to potentially look at this 2-2 Giants team going in to Seattle, or a 1-3 Giants team going up against potentially what could be an undefeated Seattle Seahawks that are playing top tier football right now. But enjoy the game on Thursday. I'll see you guys next week, and enjoy the games this weekend. And as always, love each other. I love you guys. Peace out. Deuces.